Have you ever thought that life is just a little bit like a wheel? The more well-rounded it is, the easier it rolls, right? That's what we're going to talk about today. I know it sounds silly, but that's what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. Let's jump right in. Well, welcome back to the Do More podcast. My name is Ben from benribble.com coaching, where we focus on 3 foundational pillars: productivity, organization, and leadership. Now, I'm going to invite you to leave a voice comment at any time at podinbox.com/domore. I love to hear your voice and I love to hear your thoughts. And who knows, you may be featured on an upcoming episode of the Do More podcast. So again, jump over to podinbox.com/domore and leave a voice comment for me. And in addition to that, today's episode is focusing on balanced life and balancing your life over the 10 basic domains of life. And we're going to jump into that. But before we do, I want to invite you to download a free worksheet that I've made available to you. Simply just jump over to benribble.com/balance. That's BALANCE. benribble.com/balance to download that wonderful resource so that you can help determine whether or not your life is balanced. So, on today's episode, we're really going to talk about 3 main things, 3 things that I really want to dig into. Number 1, what are the 10 domains of life? So we're going to explore what are these 10 domains of life. And then number 2, we're going to talk about why balance in these 10 domains is important. Why, right? And then number 3, we're going to talk about how you can round out your wheel, balance your life, if you will. So let's just jump right in. The first domain that we're going to talk about is your vocation. Now, your vocation goes by many other names, mainly your career, right? Your job. And your vocation should be a source of joy and purpose in your life. And if it's not, well, we'll get into that. It should also promote confidence, maybe a sense of accomplishment and contentment in your life. And it should be a vital part of finding financial security. And that financial security is going to be another domain that we'll get into a little bit later. So you'll immediately see here, even in domain number 1, how each of the domains can kind of interconnect with one another and support one another. So back to that, what if I don't find value in my vocation? Well, what if it causes stress and anxiety? Well, my suggestion to you is that the very first thing you do is try to find out what is the root of the problem. Why do you feel this stress? Why do you have this anxiety? Is it an individual? Is it the actual work that you're doing? Are you no longer satisfied with this particular vocation? Okay. If any of those things are true, or you find the root and you just don't think that you can correct it, maybe it's time for a change. Change is difficult, change is hard, but remember what we're trying to do here is round out your life, balance your life. And if your vocation being one of the biggest pieces that we, biggest time commitments that we make is not balanced, then it's going to throw everything else in your life out of balance. So that's why this one is number 1, because it is one of the most important, but not the most important. Let's get that straight. All of these are very important in your life, and all of them need to be balanced in order for your life to run smoothly or roll smoothly, if you will. So now domain number 2, your emotional life. Now, keep in mind that your emotional life will directly affect your physical and your mental health. Again, connections between all of these domains. And if one is dragging you down, then it could drag down several other domains within your life. And what's interesting to note is that people with emotional balance actually tend to have a stronger immune system. They have better sleep patterns and typically a more positive outlook on life. So it's important that you get your emotions in check. Find out what it is, that may be throwing you off if this is one of those domains that is bringing you down. And maybe it's just that you need to take some time to focus on a little bit of self-care and or self-love. Maybe it's simply that you need to go for a walk, clear your mind, read a book, something enjoyable, listen to some music, calm yourself down, or get yourself hyped up if that's what you need. Maybe you need to be practicing some mindfulness. I love that my Apple Watch reminds me daily that it's time to wind down. It's a time for a mindfulness minute. It reminds me that I need to reflect on my day. I need to be present in the moment and really just kind of calm myself, calm my inner self. And something else that I find can be helpful to individuals, and I've utilized this in my life in the past as well, is to recite daily affirmations, things that make you feel good. You wake up in the morning and tell yourself, today is going to be a great day. I am going to make connections with the people that I see. I'm going to smile today. Any of these daily affirmations are wonderful, and it would be a good idea for you to pick one or two and really just use that. Use that in your life. Now, another thing that you can do to really help with your emotional life is reach out to other people. And again, this is going to connect directly, and you'll see this in a bit. This is going to connect directly to another domain of life, is that if you're struggling emotionally, then maybe you need to connect with others. And it's so important that we have these connections. So again, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it multiple times throughout this podcast episode, is you are going to see that all of these 10 different domains are interconnected. There's so much connection here. And when one is struggling, several will struggle. And finally, when it comes to your emotional life, don't forget to reflect. Sit down at the end of the day, reflect on the positive things for the day. Ask yourself, what didn't go right? And how can I change that in the future? You're not stuck. Just reflect. Realize that you have many more blessings in your life than most of the time we give credit for. All right. How about domain number 3? And this one's your physical life. Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, only about 23% of adults in the United States are actually meeting the recommended physical activity guidelines. And friends, I can say right away that I am not one of those 23%. I need to spend more time on that. And this one is one that catches me all the time. I have these great intentions. I set wonderfully smarter goals, and life gets in the way. Chaos, the whirlwind around me. So this is one of my life domains that I need to increase. And so this is one I'm working on. How can we do that? Well, we have to watch our exercise, the movement, how much we move. Are we sitting at a desk all day? The foods that we eat, are they nutritious foods or are they junk foods? Are they healthy for our body? Are they supporting our body, or are they causing issues with our bodies? Today's world, things are instant gratification and fast food, et cetera, et cetera. We have to affect the change that we want to see in our lives. So we have to slow down, and we have to avoid these harmful foods and the harmful substances, whatever it is, and take the time to care for ourselves. That's really what all this is about. Taking the time to care for yourself. Now, it's important to note that your physical life is going to support your overall mental health and multiple other domains. Again, I'm connecting it to multiple other domains, but think, if you are unhealthy, if you are sick, what's that going to do to your emotions? Right? Not good. Not good. So imagine a world where you are perfectly healthy, you're confident in your own body, you have energy because you're eating well. What's that going to do for your life? Going to be amazing. All right. Let's move to domain number 4. And this one is your spiritual life. This one is often overlooked. Again, in a society in which we value instant gratification, speed, right now, go, 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 your spiritual life is important. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, if you have a strong spiritual life, you're going to be less likely to suffer from mental health issues. And on the opposite side, you're going to be more likely to have healthier relationships. Healthier relationships. That's another connection to another domain, just so you know. Also, when you have a healthy spiritual life, you're going to find a greater sense of hope, meaning, and purpose in your life. And friends, who doesn't need a greater sense of hope in their life today? When you look at the world around you, it's easy to get bogged down with social media and the news like they are today. Fear mongers, really. They're feeding on our insecurities and those scare tactics. When you have hope in your life, those things don't amount to a hill of beans. You, with your hope, can change the world. Domain number 5, your family life. Family life creates a positive environment for growth, stability, and support. And I know there are people out there who don't have a strong family from which they can, or with which they can connect. And it may not always be that you have that family to go back to. Maybe it's a family, maybe it's not a biological family that you go back to. Maybe it's a family that you've created for yourself. Okay? Keep that in mind. Regardless, when you have the closeness of a relationship with family, you have a sense of security and accountability. They're gonna talk to you, and the beautiful thing about speaking with family, and sometimes not so beautiful, is that they're brutally honest. Family can be brutally honest, but you know deep down that they have your best interests at heart, and that's the power. And again, having a strong family life is going to help support many other of these 10 domains. So again, the interconnectedness of all of this is just astounding. Moving on to domain number 6, your intellectual life. Intellectual. Your brain, right? Are you stimulating your brain? Because if you are, then additionally, you're stimulating creativity and innovativeness. And guess where creativity and innovativeness are going to come into play? Back into that first domain that we talked about, vocation. So keep that in mind. Continue to grow yourself intellectually. Again, it's going to support other domains. Keep in mind that the National Center for Education Statistics says that a higher level of education is going to lead to a higher income, typically, better job prospects, and greater job satisfaction. Again, connecting right back to that vocation. So keep all of those things in mind. Even if it just means that you want to read for 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes 3 times a week, whatever it is, something that is educational, something that is going to boost your intellect. Domain number 7, your social life. This one, I'm sure immediately just gives my wife anxiety to talk about your social life. She's very much an introvert and does not like social situations. But that doesn't keep her from having social connections. And that's more what I'm talking about. Having social connections, people that you can reach out to. And it's going to lead to stronger relationships. And people who have a strong, healthy social life are typically less likely to suffer from mental health issues as well. And again, it's going to help support other domains. Think about networking and relationships and things of that nature. It's just going to help. And again, it's one that may give some, especially in this day and age, after we went through, that pandemic and we locked everybody down for so long. This one has been very hard for a lot of people to bring back social connections. All right. Moving along, domain number 8. This is your avocational life. Avocational. Now, this essentially is defined as an activity that you take up in addition to your regular occupation or your regular vocation. So this is in addition to your career or whatever, better known as a hobby, right? This is a hobby or some activity that you enjoy participating in outside of work. Again, this one's going to stimulate that creativity and that innovativeness. So again, you can see where that's going to connect back to your vocation typically. But furthermore, it's going to help you unwind or unplug from the daily grind, from the whirlwind of everything that's going on. A good hobby can help you shut off everything else in the world and focus just on that. And friends, there are so many different hobbies that you can get involved in, from sports to model trains. You can get involved in all kinds of different groups that are out there. It's amazing the different things that we as humans have developed to be hobbies or avocations for us, right? It could even be, a side business if you enjoy doing it, if it stimulates you, if you really are getting something out of it, and it helps. It really helps to boost your confidence in yourself. Avocation. And domain number 9, relational. Now, this is very similar to the social and kind of similar to family, but this is relational connections, relationships, people finding your tribe, the people that you're going to connect with regularly and have a relationship with. Now, this could even be for those of us that are, married. It could be the relationship with our spouse, could be relationship with our children. How are you growing that? How would you say your health is in that? Do you come home from a busy day at work and then just sit and ignore each other all night? Do you talk? Do you have regular date nights with your children? Do you have conversations? Do you ask them about their day? What are your relationships like? And furthermore, as we're going through each of these domains, I want you to kind of be thinking about, how can I grow in this particular domain? If this is one of my weaker domains, what can I do to grow in this domain? And again, this relational domain is going to impact all of the other domains, well, at least multiple other domains, let's say. Having relationships and having strong relationships is going to be super helpful for you. And last but not least, domain number 10 is our financial well-being. This one is another one that often gets overlooked. Financial well-being. And mainly because it gives people anxiety to think about my finances. But having and designing a balanced budget is super important. It's going to help you become mindful of what expenses you have, how far your income can go, and it's going to help keep you from getting into a situation that is unpleasant. I want you to think about investments. Do you have investments? Have you thought about your retirement? What's going to happen in your future? Financial security is important. And it's important that you think about that. And again, this is going to kind of connect back to that vocation. Your vocation should actually support your financial life as well. And if it doesn't, again, maybe it's time to reflect on that and think, is it time for a change? Healthy finances will typically lead to less stress and fewer anxieties, because you are not going to get yourself into one of those situations where you've run out of money before your next paycheck, where you're living paycheck to paycheck. That's difficult. Okay. And on the other side of things, it's going to give you a sense of security to know that you have your finances under control, especially if you have a little bit of a nest egg or, an emergency fund. If something should come up and you get ill, or someone in your family gets ill, or your car breaks down and you have to buy a new car. Those things are important. And those things, again, will lead back to that sense of security, that sense of well-being. All of these things are going to connect back to several other domains. Said it several times. So those are your 10 domains of life: vocation, emotional, physical, spiritual, family, intellectual, social, avocational, relational, and financial. Okay? And again, I've said this a million times, I know. But this is how important it is for you to understand that when one of these doesn't work, it's going to affect multiple others. I love the analogy of the wheel, and you'll see when you jump over to benribble.com/balance and you download that worksheet, you'll see what I'm talking about when it comes to a wheel. You're going to design this little wheel with the 10 domains. And when you do that, you're going to be able to see how out of balance your wheel is and whether or not it's going to be able to roll properly. And so that's kind of how all of these different domains work together. If you have one domain that is really low, when you start to roll your wheel, it's going to get stuck on that domain. It's going to bring everything else down. The other analogy that I absolutely love, and I think is appropriate in this kind of a situation, is I want you to think about a barrel. And barrels are made of multiple vertical planks up and down, planks from, that go up and down. And I want you to imagine that these planks are all different heights. Okay? And then we bind them together with the ring that goes around them in a couple different places. And so we have all of these planks all the way around the barrel, vertically going up and down, that are different heights. Now, when we go to dump any kind of a liquid, let's even just say water. We're going to put water into this barrel. As we fill up the barrel, it's going to get to the top of the lowest plank. And then guess what? You can never fill that barrel any higher than the height of that lowest plank. So in order for you to grow in your life, in the success in your life, you are going to have to, without question, raise that lowest plank. And that's what we're doing here. Friends, we are identifying that lowest plank, aka the lowest domain in your life, and we're going to raise that. Well, how do you do that? How do you go about raising that lowest plank? Well, the easiest way is listen to the last episode that we had on our Do More podcast, which was all about setting smarter goals. That's what you have to do. You have to identify, okay, which of the domains do I need to focus on? And then identify a goal within that domain and set a smarter goal within that domain. And I will guarantee you, if you follow the steps to setting a smarter goal, then you're going to grow that domain. And as you grow that domain, your life can fill up and be more full. Or if we go back to the wheel analogy, your wheel or your life will balance out and will roll more smoothly. So again, jump over to benribble.com/balance, and you can download that free tool to help you identify which of the 10 domains is your weakest. And then I also want to remind you that if you have any kind of comments or any feedback for me for this particular episode of the Do More podcast, I would love for you to jump over to podinbox, that's podinbox.com/do-more. And that gives you the opportunity to record a voice comment, and it could be featured in a future episode of the Do More podcast. So go ahead and do that today. Jump over to podinbox.com/do-more and leave a voice comment for me. I love hearing your voice. All right. We've made it all the way to the end of this episode, and I appreciate you so much for hanging out all the way to the end. I thank you for being a Do More podcast listener. And friends, as always, don't forget to make today a great day.